All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you're coming and joining us from today. Thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to the Elevate Aviation virtual cross-country tour for 2022. And of course, this is an epic session for many reasons. It's also our last session of this year's tour. So really excited to be coming from the Atlantic region of our wonderful country today. We've got a great session about maintenance and all kinds of different factors and positions in maintenance today for you. So I'm really excited. So I hope you're all excited too. Thank you for all of our panelists joining us, Denise, Emma, and Carly. And we also have Shelley as our moderator today. And thank you to everyone that's joining us from home or classroom or wherever you're coming from. So Elevate Aviation is a non-for-profit organization that helps women, youth, and underrepresented groups thrive and succeed through careers in aviation. Now, Elevate Aviation programs are all across Canada, and we educate people about those aviation careers, as well as provide support for those who need it. You can view all of our programs at our website at www.elevateaviation.ca. There, you will find information on what Elevate's all about, a lot of our programs, such as the Elevate Aviation Learning Center, our mentorship program, bursaries, our airtime webinars, and of course, this year's cross-country tour. Now, the cross-country tour started back in 2015, and it was made to showcase all of these great careers, and it's only grown as we've continued and Elevate's gotten bigger. So we've got an exciting conversation today, and we're excited to present your tour this year virtually. We hope you enjoy the presentation today and ask as many questions as you like. There is the chat feature down at the bottom or on the right of your screen, depending on what kind of computer you're using. And type chat questions in there all the time throughout. And at the end, we will go through a bunch of them. If you have questions right away, and some of them are perfect in for what the panelist is speaking about, they can answer them live, but most of the time we'll just save them for the end so we have the best presentation possible. So just as a heads up, my name is Sophia, and I'm excited to be your host today. I've been a part of Elevate for quite a while, and I'm on the senior leadership team. And my position with that is the Director of Mentorship and Community Involvement, or Engagement, I should say. When I'm not doing that, I am a pilot, so I'm the one that breaks the airplanes that all these wonderful ladies help fix. So don't try to break them, but I'm sure that they all think, oh yeah, pilots. But we have to work together a lot. So I'm really appreciative for all of these amazing ladies and can't wait to hear their stories. So enough about me. I'm really excited to introduce our first speaker today. So Denise, I will give you the floor and looking forward to your presentation.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Denise Buglis, and I'm going to try and hook up this presentation now. Forgive me. Share screen. There we go. Okay, I've got it going. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Denise Buglis. Hang on, I'm just going to put it here. There we go. I'm Denise Buglis, and I'm a licensed engineer. So I'm going to be speaking to you about my my job as a maintenance manager in a CAMO for business aviation.
Denise, do you just want to hit the present button so we can see a nice full screen?
Oh, sure.
That top, it's kind of looks like a projector screen with a play button in it.
There we go.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, great. So how do I get this to here? Maybe that's better. Okay.
Looks great.
Okay, great. So here we go. So basically, I've held different positions in aviation over the years, both in commercial airlines and business aviation. I started off as a licensed tech, as an apprentice, and of course got my license. And I was on the floor as a maintenance technician, working in both airlines and of course in business aviation, and all that great experience that you can see here from different positions that I'm bringing forward now as a maintenance manager for business, private jets, basically. And also on my spare time, I'm very involved in aviation. I'm on the Customer Technical Advisory Committee for Bombardier Global Aircraft. And basically, what we do is we're a committee of customers that present different technical issues so that they can make the products better for people to fly in. I'm very proud of that. And so business aviation Oops, sorry. Oh no, how do I go backwards? Of course, technical difficulties here.
Should just be able to right click typically, and it might give you the option to go back.
Oh, previous.
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just want to make sure that business aviation. So you've seen a new revival, especially specifically from COVID, but more importantly, this is what we've seen in pictures and movies. It's usually for the ultimate rich and celebrity type, but it's becoming more and more popular for businesses, business people, to be able to have the flexibility and luxury of being able to fly whenever they need to. And with that, they of course have companies that need to manage the flight operations, the regulations, the maintenance, and the crew staffing. And this is where I come in, specifically for maintenance aspect. And I work remotely in offices and at home, like today. And basically, I also, have a worldwide fleet. So my aircraft are everywhere. They're not in North America necessarily. In fact, I only have one aircraft in North America. So I deal with all different time zones and, all different cultural backgrounds, different, languages and everything. So it's really great. And because I'm working in business aviation, it's a little bit different from commercial. We're seen as a CAMO. So this is continuing airworthiness maintenance organization. And what we do is we make sure that, similar with all aircraft, they have to have maintenance done at specific time frames that are designated by the manufacturer. That's my job, to make sure that I'm taking care of the aircraft in a timely manner and making sure it's done within regulations. Of course, I'm also doing other activities. We do many in aviation. We always do many different hats. We wear many different hats. So my job also is to be a liaison between the crew and the owner, and as well as the different facilities. So we have to talk to many different people, as well as the manufacturers of the aircraft. Also, I am able to fly to different places to support the aircraft when they're in major maintenance. I'm there to make sure that things are done within a timely manner and that schedules are kept. And of course, asset protection. These are expensive aircraft that people own, and they want to make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck. So they send me there to make sure that everything is done, and it's done within a timely and financially viable, frame. So of course, my job is to make sure that budget and cost containment is done. We have the luxury of talking to different people, and many of these people are businesses and business people and just private owners. So we have to sometimes change the way we, translate airworthiness and aircraft jargon to people that may not necessarily know about aviation. So we really have to, be aware of the different things. But also too, from a technical background, I don't get to lose my technician background experience. I use it also too because I'm discussing different snags that come up with the aircraft. Sometimes I'm troubleshooting with the pilots when they come up with some issues during their checks in the beginning of the flight. They may call me right away to say, hey, we've got this problem, and then we'll walk them through with my training and experience. So we don't lose all that experience from my technician days. Ultimately, my job is and its responsibility is to keep the aircraft safe and flying. So as you see here, yes, I'm unfortunately 24-hour support team for the crew. Everybody flies not within time zones and times of business. They fly all times. So it could be 1 o'clock in the morning, but basically I'm the first point of contact for the crew. So if something goes wrong, they give me a shout and we try and work them through. And if it's not something that we can take care of, it's then my job to organize the closest maintenance to get out to the aircraft to support the aircraft and get it fit for service next time. And of course, then the continuation of communication starts. So as we've had an amazing week of Women in Aviation talks with Elevate putting this a great show on, you've heard a lot of different stories of women in aviation with all the different backgrounds and positions that they hold and jobs in the market. Yes, I'm very proud to be you know, a speaker and a licensed technician. We make up only about 1 to 3% in Canada, and worldwide, I can actually say that I've met, because I travel a lot to different maintenance facilities. I've done both in commercial and business. We are still few. I think we're less than 10% globally. I think it's making it up there, but you know, it's always encouraging when we have these type of events to make sure that we are enticing more women specifically, not just everybody, because we do definitely need all types of male and female in aviation, but also to let you know that, you know, I've heard from people say, you know, I didn't think I was going to be able to go in aviation because I wanted a family. Well, that's my daughter 16 years ago. She's now 16. So yes, you can have a family and do all this great work, be a technician, be all these great jobs, and still have a profession as well. So that's it's a nice encouragement. Also, in terms of, you know, what skills do you need for this this job? I've listed a few here, but over the different jobs that you have in aviation, many of us have these really quick decision-making skills. Being a line technician or an AOG technician, you kind of have no choice but to come up with really quick decision-making. And of course, leadership. You know, there's a lot of, you know, we're organizing and planning different things, and communication and flexibility, and of course, professionalism, I think, is across the board. So here I've put, just because business aviation is very specific, it's private aviation. So the owners, you know, can pretty much do anything, put anything in their aircraft that they want. You got to remember too that business aviation is all about what they want specifically. So it could be a brand, it could be just luxury that they want. It's a home away from home sometimes for these people. So our job also too is to make sure that it's staying nice, because it's a very expensive aircraft. And but I've put here a video of one of the aircraft that I managed, and it just goes to show you how luxurious and how different it is. You know, and really kind of, you know, we are making sure that we're, you know, protecting the asset and making sure that everything goes as planned. So here you go. And also part of my job is to make sure when they are purchasing an aircraft, I'm part of that discussion, and I can help out as well. So here you'll see, and I'm just going to give you a pre-warning. It's a walkthrough of a cabin of a 7500, a brand new aircraft, and you'll see the carpet right away. And you'll see, as you go back, you'll see it go different colors. And that's actually, it was a specific great thing that the owner wanted. It was a specific private owner that wanted to replicate like the ocean coming up into the sand. And as it, you know, gets lighter and lighter. So it's actually not your eyes, it's really the carpet and the colors. And you'll see also too, when it walks through, you'll see the clouds on the ceiling. So it's really an individual, you know, type of business and part of aviation. So I hope you enjoy the video. And in fact, I hope you enjoy, this is the end of my presentation as well. I know it was very quick, and I hope that I'm able to answer any questions later on if you have some, but enjoy the video, and we'll see what you have to say. And you'll see also too, just an FYI, that you see the luxury of a home away from home with a bed and a couch and, you know, a nice sink and TV. So it really is a different way of flying and a different business.
Yeah, sign me up for one of those. That's a gorgeous airplane. Wow.
It's really gorgeous, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a really nice part of aviation. Not that not that commercial isn't it? It's still awesome.
Oh, of course. No, it's really neat. I think a lot of us don't get to see the inside kind of side of that. So that's fantastic. And like, so when you decided to get into like your position now as a leader and being on call like that, like how has that affected your family life? Like you mentioned you have a daughter, like how have you found you've been able to balance that as a mom?
Yeah, it's been a struggle over the years. I have two teenage daughters now. Yeah, it was a struggle. I mean, and that's probably why, you know, different businesses and different part of the business and different companies will offer different things, you know. So what I've done, I did when I was a technician, I had the children. So, you know, there were shifts at that time. I was able to manage for the most part my shifts and worked with my employer to basically, if I could do day shifts rather than night shifts. And then when that wasn't something that was a possibility, that's when you saw that I changed career paths, but stayed within something that was technical. So I went to a QA inspector. So that's why it's really kind of neat, because depending on where you're working, there might be different options available, and it really is to do with your employers. But a lot of them now, you know, most people have kids, and those who choose to anyways. So, you know, the flexibility is an easier discussion than it was maybe 20 years ago. So it's still a discussion to be had, and then there's always options. You know, you could always try different things, and it's always an experience that brings you to a different place. So it's always positive.
Totally. No, I definitely think, you know, there's so many paths in aviation. It's amazing to see where you can go. And then my last little question for you is, you mentioned you were a QA manager. I know what that is, but I know maybe some of our friends watching aren't really sure. Do you want to just explain that really quick?
Yeah, so I was a QA inspector, sorry, not manager. But what my job was, I was the inspector, making sure that the licensed techs did, you know, their jobs properly. I would go over their paperwork, and I would go through the logbooks, and I would go through the work actually on the aircraft to do a double check and make sure that everything was signed off in accordance with. You know. So that's like a second pair of eyes. And then of course the records aspect, you know, and the regulations aspect. So there's
Right. So
different
that
stuff.
quality assurance is, you know,
Yeah,
another really cool job, right? That's fantastic.
yeah, and that was what I was doing, you know, when I was kind of balancing the kids aspect. So it allowed me, like I said, to still use that experience, but then, you know, slightly different avenue.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Denise. Amazing presentation. And I'm sure Shelley have some questions for you at the end. So now we're going to move on to our next presenter. So we have Emma next, and she's in maintenance planning. So it's kind of a good leeway of talking a little bit about quality assurance and now into maintenance planning. So Emma, the floor is yours.
All right. Have you got my screen?
And we can see you. Just need you to share your screen and
Oh.
we're golden.
So one more button.
There we go.
Okay, my name's Emma Hubert. I'm not in planning. I'm the supervisor of maintenance programs at Canadian North, but I have worked in planning as well. So I'm sharing a bit about both. I've been with Canadian North for, excuse me, 22 years this year. I started as an apprentice, and I worked as a technician in our component shop. And I've dabbled in stores and material control before moving into maintenance planning and then maintenance programs. Unfortunately, maintenance programs is not as glamorous. We have no private aircraft, fancy carpets here. Planning and programs is a very behind the scenes position, to the point where sometimes even a lot of our own maintenance personnel don't really know what we do. They just accept what we give them and they move on. So what we have, maintenance planning is tracking all the maintenance that is due on the aircraft and then issuing it out in a timely manner. So we have maintenance planners who issue daily, day-to-day work. They issue a work package every day for every aircraft. And then we also have planners who build heavy checks where the aircraft could be down for several weeks to sometimes a month and a half for structural inspections. And maintenance planning in general tends to be a very fast-paced position. You have to be very, very flexible, willing to make changes on the fly, as flight ops has been known to change aircrafts around. Things get broken, things don't work. So it's a very fast-paced environment. So if that's kind of thing that interests you, that's a good place. And then my specialty is maintenance programs. This is where the maintenance on the aircraft comes from. When you have a car, you have an owner's manual that recommends a maintenance schedule, we get something similar from the manufacturer of the aircraft. It's just much, much more involved. So in programs, we take that program and we load it into our software, and then we make sure that it is applicable to our fleet, as individual aircraft may be slightly different. We have one maintenance program for each type of aircraft. So Canadian North, I currently am managing 6 maintenance programs, and we're about to add a 7th. We're getting a ATR 72. We've got 2 of them coming. So it creates quite a workload. The programs generally are revised twice a year. So Boeing and ATR, in our case, updates the programs, and we take those updates and we apply them to our fleet. In addition to the maintenance programs from the manufacturer that we handle, maintenance programs also manages ICAs, instructions for continued airworthiness. So anything that you do in the aircraft that isn't from the manufacturer, that is a modification to the aircraft, has to be controlled. And if the modification requires ongoing maintenance, then we manage that. We create the tasks for that and we track them so that planning can issue them out. So an example, we installed an AFIRS, an automated flight information reporting system, which required an antenna to be installed on the aircraft. And that antenna installation now requires an ongoing inspection every 3,000 flight cycles. And a flight cycle is every time the aircraft lands. As well, in programs, we handle the maintenance schedule of approval. So this is a Transport Canada document that outlines how our company, how the operator maintains its aircraft. So we list that we are maintaining our aircraft in accordance with Boeing and ATR's maintenance programs. We list any additional mods, instructions for continued airworthiness, and then that goes to transport and they approve that. And anytime we make any changes to our fleet, then that goes back to transport to be updated. And again, so everything we do is by type. We have 6 types, so I manage 6 different MSAs. Finally, one of the big parts of my job is the weight and balance program. I manage the weight and balance program for Canadian North. Our aircraft are weighed every 5 years, and we also track any weight changes on the aircraft. So any modifications, changes in parts, sometimes they'll update the seats or put a new modification in. So that's all recorded. And this is the fun part of my job because I actually get to get away from a computer and get out on the floor. And those are I call them my scales. So I was just in Iqaluit weighing an ATR 42-500. We were up there for 2 days. So it's a really interesting part of my job. So what we provide is a basic empty weight of the aircraft. So that's the aircraft with just the seats, the emergency equipment, sort of standard configuration. And then we provide that information to our flight ops department, and then they add the weight of the fuel, of the passengers, and the baggage. And so they have a known weight before they take off. So before every single flight, they have to calculate the weight of the aircraft. And I think that covers all the big stuff. We do a lot of other things. We get requests from maintenance for updates to task cards, and basically anything that they throw at us. There's not a lot of glory in maintenance programs, but we're very important. So I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I found that really interesting, Emma. What made you get more into the planning side of it? Like, you feel like there was something that pulled you as an individual more into that? Well, not necessarily the planning or the weight and balance and such, like you said, but into that more technical side of things instead of, like they say, turning wrenches.
I did actually kind of fall into it. I was having problems with arthritis. I was working in an overhaul component shop, and I was looking for something that was related, but not as physical. And I applied for a position in planning, and I enjoyed planning, but then I gradually, our departments in our company, our departments are very close together. We're under the same umbrella. At a larger company, they would probably be more separate. And I transitioned over into programs and took on more and more of that responsibility. So
that makes sense. And then like, so to get into a position like yours, would you have to start as a technician first and be like, put your time in on the floor, or how does that work?
it's beneficial. There's not really any program, there's no schooling per se, but we do have planners that have come from flight ops. We have, most of us have some kind of maintenance background, but you can, it's not an absolute requirement, but it is definitely beneficial.
So there's some transferable skills in there depending on, like, say
Very,
someone
very much.
watching that.
It's much easier to understand the maintenance program if you are already familiar with, say, ATAs, which are your transport codes and the general maintenance on the aircraft.
Okay. And the weight and balance part of it, like, I find that super interesting. I love that you have your own scales. It's the only time I think women get excited about the scale, right? Like, so like, do you carry those around, or like, are they only at a certain place when you like,
We do have two sets. We have one in our Edmonton base and one in Ottawa. But I just took the scales. They actually, the manufacturer of the scales produces a really nice crate for them. Each scale is about 90 pounds, and there's one for wheel. And then each scale has a ramp and a bridge and a backstop. So it's a whole package, and we ship the whole crate up together.
So it's a pretty big ordeal to weigh an airplane, especially like the size of some of Canadian North's fleet.
It is a lot of, well, yes, yeah, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of prep work on the aircraft. The actual weighing itself is quite simple. You basically, you need a tug and you push it up on the scales and you read the scales. But there is a lot of prep to make sure that the aircraft is in a specific configuration, and everything has to be, like, the fuel has to be emptied, everything has to be serviced, the labs have to be emptied. So
Right, because all the fluids and such, and what's allowed and what's not for
everything has to be accounted for. Yes.
Right. Wow. And then I guess, okay, my last question, just because I'm pilot nerding a little bit, with the amount of change in technology, like, I've worked for a couple companies where they've changed out the whole avionics. So how much of a pain in the neck is that for you as like doing the weight and balance or maintenance planning, when the full, like, all the fancy computers and stuff that we see have changed out? So maybe you've gone from the standard past, like, steam gauges, and now you're putting in a glass cockpit. Is that like a big ordeal?
It depends. From a program's perspective, we are more on the tail end of that. We do work closely with our engineering department, so they'll give us a package. Say we're going to install. Right now, we are replacing outdated ELTs on our aircraft. It's just become impossible to get repairable units or have the units that we have repaired. So we're in the process of transitioning over. So we've had several meetings on it as engineering creates drawings and they get approval, and the paperwork comes to me as well as others, and we review the installation and the new requirements. So these ELTs have slightly different maintenance requirements than the old ones. So then I go and I update the program. From a weight and balance perspective, there is no the ELT, there's no effect. You basically are taking one ELT out, putting one in. So that's easy. On a different mod, there may be, and I have a record for each aircraft of everything that is added and subtracted in weight. And once we hit a certain point in weight, then we will either reweigh or we will do an amendment to account for that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Just really quickly in the chat here, someone says that Marcella, I want to say, I hope I'm saying that right. Says she has fibromyalgia and has been looking for something related to her field, but less physical, and really appreciates you sharing your story. So that's really fantastic. So thank you, Emma. I think, sharing stories and talking about, what we've gone through is so awesome. So thank you for being here. Okay. So now we've got our last presenter of the day. We have Carly. So I'll get Carly to come up here. Bring up her video. Oh, did we lose Carly? Oh, there we go. There she is. All right. Just want to unmute, and then the
There you go.
floor is yours. So Carly is with Air Canada, and she's a senior designer. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. So all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Carly. I'm a graphic designer, and I'm focused in aviation. So I'm not maintenance at all, but I'm very familiar with maintenance because some of the aspects of my job as a designer is photographing maintenance. So I have very much a lot of respect for maintenance and all of those areas of the side of aviation. So I have a presentation, so I'm just going to go and share my screen, and hopefully, is everybody able to see it?
Looks good so far.
All right. Are these little? No, it's me. It's me. Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, I'm at Air Canada. I'm a contractor for now. I previous to that, I was working for the PAL group of companies. That would have been PAL Airlines, PAL Aerospace, Air Borealis, and I've just finished my first week at Air Canada. So I'm a senior designer, but more in this role, more of like an art director, and basically like I'm a graphic designer by trade, but now I'm more of like conceptualizing concepts and designs for like marketing campaigns, for like what you would see on social media, for like even the little cards that you find in the aircraft, like your safety sheets, that would have been done by a designer. Any logos or liveries on an aircraft is done by a designer. So my path to becoming a designer, and more specifically a designer in aviation, I started by attending college in the North Atlantic, which is a community college in St. John's, Newfoundland. I did a 2-year program, and I focused in on a lot towards like web and photography. So like I was more interested in designing websites and social media and doing photography and video and things like that. Once I graduated, I started working in economic development for the town of Conception Bay South. So that's where I was focused in like tourism and economic development. And then I went on to work at Memorial University of Newfoundland as a marketing designer. And I think it was when I was working at Memorial University, that's when I decided that I wanted to go into aviation. But it's definitely, when you think about working in aviation, most people think, oh, you're going to be a pilot, or you're going to be a mechanic, or you're going to be a flight attendant, but nobody ever says, you can be a graphic designer, or you can be a software developer, or you could be like a sales, or like there's so many different ways to get into aviation. So I would never want to, growing up, I never thought about those things, and I always wanted to work in aviation. So it took me having to sort of get to know the industry and get to know what kind of positions there were there to understand that I could take something that I had and bring that to aviation. So again, I moved into tech and aviation and aerospace, and then I recently started at Air Canada. So right. Let me go to my next slide here. So this is pretty much what my office is like as a designer in aviation. I get to travel a lot. I really do, for photos and videos. Most recently, I was in Goose Bay, and being in Goose Bay, I actually got to travel up the north coast of Labrador on a Twin Otter, landing on gravel runways, and that was so much fun. So much fun. So here's like me with all my gear and everything just kind of thrown all over the table. I've got my camera bag and my tripod, and then there's a laptop buried under there. There's an iPad somewhere, and vest and little knickknacks and things I was picking up from Goose Bay. Second photo is when I was on a flight. I was, had my laptop, and I was editing photos as I was coming home to Halifax. And on the last image, that's my office setup. I work remotely, My team is based in Toronto, but I work remotely from Nova Scotia. So that's my office. It's my office in my house. It's pretty cool. And, you know, in this kind of role, I've, you know, from working with PAL, I was all over the Atlantic, and I really got to learn all the different bases, which is really cool. So a day in the life for a graphic designer. So one of the really cool things is that we get to work on a variety of assets. We get to work on video, like the video there of the aircraft from the air. That was a drone photo shoot we had set up and did at St. John's. And you know, having like the ability to work on video or photo or illustrations is just going to help you more in your job. So I was able to be at that photo shoot with the drone, and that was a very fun day in St. John's, just, you know, with the team that was Nav Canada cleared and safety, you know, Transport Canada clearance and everything, so they were allowed to do it, because normally it's a no-no. But obviously it was something that was set up properly. Another thing is that as designers, like this is with PAL, this is with Air Canada, that we get to collaborate and work on various brands. Like with PAL Group, I would, you know, sometimes help airlines, I would help aerospace, Air Borealis, Moncton Flight, or MFC training, or even help HR with advertisements to hire, you know, someone in reservations, airline reservations, or a software developer for CartNav or whatnot. And the part I cherish most is working with amazing people. I mean, people in the industry, people in aviation are truly one of a kind. Like, they're so passionate about where they're working. It's really cool because you know, if we talk about a specific aircraft, anybody in the group that I'm with knows exactly what you're talking about and where that aircraft is, or who, like, you know, who operates it or something. And it's neat because that sort of like interest goes as far as like us working in the design, in the like in a creative studio or in central marketing. Like, we all have that passion too, so it's not lost on someone in an office, like working remotely in Halifax. Like, you know, like the passion of the aviation is everywhere. And so who should, I did that thing. Where am I supposed to get back?
Sorry, you just froze for
There, this? Yes. So who should consider a career in design? Well, being a designer is having a passion for solving problems visually. It's basically 90% of my job is problem solving, but in a visual context. Someone who would, you know, be good as a graphic designer would be somebody who, you know, is creative and thinks visually. So if you like to put together PowerPoints, or you like to, you know, use those extra functions in Word doc, or, you know, you have, you know, like you like to make scrapbooking or things like that, like you have a creative knack, graphic design is just, you know, is a great area to take that. And if you're someone who's always been artistic, if you enjoy working with technology, as you can see from my office photo, we work with tech a lot. And, you know, the other benefit of being a graphic designer is that this career can be applied to any industry. I just chose to apply it to aviation. And you know, this career can grow into another career. Like, you could go become UX, UI, which is user experience and user interface designer. So let's say you're on an Air Canada flight going from Halifax to Toronto, and you're in the new A220, and you have those screens, and you can look through them and you can select things. that's called user experience, and that's interface design. So anything where you're interacting, like if it's the mobile app or the website or the screen on the aircraft, that's interactive, and that's interface design, which is another area a graphic designer can go. And one of my photos there of the new turning red livery. What skills do you need to have as a designer? It can be easy to start as long as you have a passion to be creative, and absolutely need to be disciplined. If you have a niche for creativity, if you have a problem, if you have the desire to solve problems visually, and math, we need math. We really do need math, but we can also use calculators, so it's okay. And drawing, yes, there's the misconception that you need to be like, you be good at drawing and stuff to be a graphic designer, but you don't need to. It's not necessary, but it is beneficial, but you don't need it. Tools designers use. So designers use the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. So if you've ever heard the phrase, someone say, oh, Photoshop it, we're the ones photoshopping it. And we use programs like Adobe Illustrator for doing like design. And we use a program called Adobe InDesign, which we use for like brochure layout, book layout, anything that would go on print is an InDesign product. And we use Adobe XD for interface design and layout. And the first graphic there is just me using my Cintiq, my draw on monitor, and I'm just illustrating like an Air Canada plane. And same with the second image. You can expand as a graphic designer to illustration, photo editing, and 3D graphics. Sometimes I was able to make illustrated graphics, such as like an aircraft. I've also done 3D renders of an aircraft that doesn't exist yet for marketing purposes, which was a lot of fun. And at times we could get into photo, video, and motion graphics. I would do a lot of animation, a lot of video, and a lot of photography, because it was something that I had as a skill set. And how do you become a graphic designer? So there are a few ways to become a graphic designer, but post-secondary education is the most common way. Like I said, I had chose to enroll in a 2-year diploma program of graphic design at the College of the North Atlantic in Newfoundland. And most community colleges in Canada offer graphic design. I would recommend sticking with a community college, because I find some of the private colleges can charge a lot of money for something that you would easily get through community college that has a good program. And as graphic designers, you can move on to get your Bachelor of Design, and you can go on to get your Master of Design or higher. And is there any questions?
One, can you make the rest of my presentations, please? This is amazing.
Oh,
right? Like, I'm sure everybody watching is just like, oh man, look at our graphics. This is so cool. Like, my presentations, I'm like, oh, I got a nice picture there. But so wow, amazing, Carly. That's so interesting. And you're 100% right. I love your passion of saying, you know, you don't have to necessarily be like a pilot or an engineer or whatnot. That's something Elevate we've been so proud of and love seeing, is there's so many cool jobs in this industry. So thank you for sharing about that. Your passion is infectious. So thank you for being one of those like excited people in aviation, you know, like that's just awesome. And I thought that it was interesting that you brought up math. So people always talk about that in aviation. Oh, if you want to be a pilot, you have to be good at math. Oh, if you have to be good at math, but it's the same sort of thing. I always say basic math, right?
Yeah.
But then otherwise, you know, if you need to, like you said, you can use a calculator. So
exactly.
that's totally fair. So I guess just a quick question of like, you just always loved airplanes? Like you said, you kind of always wanted to go there. Like, what was it that pulled you to aviation so much?
Okay, so my dad was a super commuter growing up. So we lived in Nova Scotia, but my dad's office, like his business was based in Toronto, but he wanted lake life. So we lived in Nova Scotia on a lake. And so my dad was a super commuter, and he used to commute on like I don't know if it was Ward Air at the time or if it was Canadian Airlines. And then from there, he went on to like as the mergers happened, he would switch from one airline to the other until it was Air Canada. So he'd fly out on a Tuesday and come home on Thursday every week for like 30 years. And we also lived close to an aerodrome on the lake. So we would have floats land and take off from like our backyard, and the occasional water bomber depending on fire season. So and living close to Shearwater, I was at the Shearwater International Air Show every year, and I think that all just kind of like made me an AV geek.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. Well, we're glad to have you in aviation for sure. I definitely am like, I need to get closer to Carly so I can pick her brain on how to make all these fancy things. Man, the Elevate website could just be so cool.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your presentation. And I'm sure there's some great, I don't see any questions yet, but I'm sure Shelly's got some good ones. And Shelly, I have a few more if you need. So by all means, I'll hand it over to Shelly and let her go on as asking questions.
Thank you, Sabaya. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'd love to hear ones from the floor, absolutely. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Shelly Christian, and I'm actually in Charlottetown, PEI. So I'm the Vice President of Operations for the Charlottetown Airport Authority. So a little bit of different stream as well from the maintenance ladies that we heard today. Carly, I have to say the same. My actual note as I listened to your presentation was you do get the nod for the best presentation today. Nice, like it's so different to see a graphic designer in this industry and just how you feel about aviation. It was, I guess, infectious is a great word, and I just totally appreciate it. And it was cool to see some of the stuff that we all take for granted. We all see those liveries on aircrafts and stuff, and who actually works on that type of stuff. So it's nice to see the well-roundedness in the aviation field. I guess, Denise, the first question I had was, with your current role and being worldwide, you must have visited a lot of very cool places. So what is the coolest place your job has taken you, and maybe just talk about why?
So I don't know if I've had the coolest visits. I think my aircraft have. Definitely, they go to all the nice places. So unfortunately, my pilots, they make me very jealous and send me nice pictures of really nice, like Bora Bora and stuff like that. I usually end up in a hangar, which is really cool as well, but because I get to meet a lot of different people. I've gone to Amsterdam, and I've gone to, I regularly go to the UK. I've been to different parts of the US for my maintenance. So I really kind of follow the aircraft in terms of where we end up doing maintenance. But it's really great because even if I'm not necessarily there, I'm communicating via email and via phone calls, and now all these great video web calls and everything. And I get to meet a lot of the people that I'm dealing with. So lots of people in Germany, and because of my background and different positions that I've held, I have those, connections from, so that's why I was saying, like, I know kind of, in terms of women in aviation specifically, I know kind of the environment, at least that I'm working in, and how many, because I meet them, everybody wants to know, there's not many of us, right? So we all want to go and say hi to another female tech on site, or even in, it's really, like I said, I'm not the one that gets to travel to the nice places. Unfortunately, that's still left with the pilots, but I do get really nice pictures from them from the beach.
That's great. Maybe Emma and Carly, I know you both work for airlines, so maybe there's a story on where you visited and maybe you want to share with the group that's really cool.
Oh, I was going to say it's literally the coldest, not the coolest. I was just in Iqaluit for 2 days. Actually, that's my third trip up there recently, and it was warmer this one. The last 2 trips, it was bouncing around in the -40s. So,
Wow.
yeah, but it's a part of Canada that not a lot of people get to see. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely jealous. Yeah.
But it is beautiful up there.
I would love to go up north. That's on my bucket list for places that I want to visit. And the most exciting place that I've traveled again was when I went on with Air Borealis. I went on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I went from Goose Bay all the way up, all the northern communities up to Nain, and it was like a life-changing experience, to be honest with you. It was just absolutely amazing, and it was a real opportunity to like reflect on, you know, the importance of that day, and to be in all these different communities, as well as getting back in time for the ceremony in the park in Goose Bay. So of all the places that I've been, I think that trip resonated the most with me. And yes, going to Iqaluit is on my list for absolutely sure. I really want to go up north.
That's awesome. That's pretty unique experience for sure. And actually, Carly, there's a question from Mason on the floor. How does one get a job as an aviation photographer? So you sparked some new interests.
So that's a hard one. I'm going to tell you right now, being a woman in the aviation photography field is a very hard place to be. But I mean, it's hard for women to be anywhere in aviation. It's just something that's constantly being worked on. For me, it's just being a squeaky wheel and constantly, you know, showcasing my images on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until they cave and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get that one. But to be honest with you, I'm very grateful to PAL Group for the opportunities they gave me to build on my skill set. And, you know, who knows, maybe something will come my way at Air Canada for, you know, like a one-off or something. Like, I would be all over that. But if you want to be an aviation photographer, you just, you know, just get out and practice. Go out to the side of the road, try to shoot that aircraft, try to take a different shot of that same aircraft taking off the same way, same runway, and try to get more creative with it, and just go with it. So hopefully that helps.
That's great. Yeah. I guess I was interested, Denise. So you work 24/7. I did hear you say you worked remote, so I'm assuming that is a flexibility option that you wanted. But being 24/7 is tough. So what is the benefit of doing your job?
The benefit of doing my job, well, so yes, 24/7 is tough sometimes, you know. These aircraft, when they start to fly, I've had a lot of Christmases that I've been working and multi-managing, you know, doing different things with AOGs. But I think the benefit is keeping it live. It's keeping it interesting. You never really know what is happening, what's going to happen. It's not like a boring job. So definitely, I'm not one of those. You know, I don't know if it's ADHD or what, but I like things that are interesting and throw at me and challenge me. So I think that's probably the benefit there, is that it is very challenging, and not on a bad side, in a good sense, you know, like it's really lively, you know, but you just never know when it's going to happen. So it could be at 3 o'clock in the morning, could be, you know, you could be working all night. You know, it's not as bad as it sounds. It can get a little crazy, but you know, I think we all, you know, do manage our time well, and we sleep when we can. And I think just as moms too, a lot of moms in the industry, we kind of learn how to do it, right? And just like anybody in aviation, we just figure it out. So yeah, we make it work.
It's funny, I'm 24/7 too. Airport operations, airports are open 24/7. So it's just interesting to ask someone else that question, because I think, you know, it's in our DNA, and, you know, it's actually what drives us probably. I do have another question, and it's probably more suited for, I'm thinking, Emma. I'm an AME college student right now and thinking about a management or QA kind of role further along in my career. Are there many opportunities to transition to management, or are they super competitive?
I would say, at least in my own experience in my own airline, that there are lots of opportunities. To get into QA, you're going to need to be licensed. So you're going to want to work, in the field and in maintenance for a good number of years, and then you can transition into QA. And management covers a lot of there's different areas you can get into. So just like a supervisor on the floor. We have base managers who oversee specific bases. There's lots and lots of different opportunities that right up to, our director of maintenance and our VP of maintenance all came up through the maintenance chain. So.
That's a great answer.
I want to jump in there too, actually, to add to Emma's, conversation. There is a lot of opportunities. I will add that I know from both, well, mostly on the business side now, management is a little bit of a tough door to open for women. It's starting. I'm not going to flower it up a little bit. I'm going to be honest. That's where I am right now. I'm senior maintenance manager here, but I'm looking to go towards management, in terms of, business aviation and stuff, and looking at the different companies. So that's my goal as well. So it's a goal to have, but we have to poke the little door open with our toe and get some help, and mentoring and mentorship is a really good key, I think. Even myself, I've got 24 years background with all different crazy, positions, but even myself, I need that help to get into those roles. It's not undoable. There's some really great women now. You're seeing a lot more of them with LinkedIn and all the social medias, and that's really helpful. But yeah, the visibility aspect, we need to really push to get into.
I think that's a really good point. Yes, for sure.
Love it.
Sorry, Shelley. I was just going to say, love you both brought up mentorship, like 100%, and that's all about what Elevate's about. So hopefully these, both Emma and Denise, I'm hoping if you're not already mentors with us, that you become mentors with us. And for some of you that are listening and want to get involved with Elevate, or want to mentor, or want to be a mentor, we'd love to have you, and in all kinds of ways. So you can email us at info@elevateaviation.ca. I think it's in the chat there too, if you like, as well as you can go on our website, find out everything there. And I guess we'll just, if there's any last minute questions or any other comments that anyone wants to make, and then we'll kind of jump into the final little wrap up we have. Great. Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to everyone that participated today. Our panelists today were fantastic. Emma, Denise, Carly, so amazing. You're all inspiring, and thank you so much for sharing why you're passionate, and a bit of how to get into these jobs, right? I know I've been in the industry for going on 2 decades, and I still am like, oh, that's a new job I never thought of, or how like you can connect jobs, or the different pathways through, and different companies. And I was thinking of the photographer, and my flight school would, that I work at, wouldn't mind having some of those pictures if you ever want to come and practice. I'm sure there's some smaller companies out there that just don't have the idea even of, how do I get good pictures? How do I get my design to look good, to get the clients, to get the students, to get the, whatever it might be. So many wheels turning. So thank you, ladies, so much for today. And of course, to Shelley for being a great moderator, and for everyone for joining us today. So again, check out the website to see all about what Elevate can offer. Send us an email. And for the last time, in the 2020 cross-country tour is officially closed. So thank you, ladies, so much for being our final session, and for everybody that's tuned in all week long. So thank you again, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.